First here on Today, a few minutes ago, a major problem has developed with the $100 million communications satellite put into orbit last night by the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger. The Space Shuttle itself is operating perfectly this morning. The problem is with the satellite. Let's go back to the Space Center in Houston and Roy Neal for another update. Roy?
Well, John, the Air Force from its Secret Control Center at Sunnyvale, California, has confirmed the bad news. During the firing of the second stage of an Air Force-developed rocket, there was an apparent loss of control. The TDRS communication satellite and its rocket now are probably tumbling end over end somewhere in space. The Air Force release goes on to say that anomaly teams are working, trying to figure out if anything can be done, but it must be added the outlook is bleak. The satellite, worth over $100 million, was to have been the key to future space communications on which most advanced programs would depend. The astronauts, by the way, aboard Challenger are in fine shape. They successfully deployed that TDRS and its rocket last night, and they have nothing to do with this development.
Reporting this morning, there is trouble with the $100 million communications satellite put into orbit only last night by the Challenger space shuttle. All is well with the 4 astronauts and the space shuttle itself, but there are fears now that the expensive communication satellite may be useless. Roy Neal has another live update for us now from Mission Control in Houston. Roy?
Well, John, most of the news here in Houston this morning deals with a space machine over which Mission Control here has no control at this hour. The TDRS advanced communication satellite and its 2-stage inertial upper stage rocket are under the jurisdiction of the Air Force Secret Control Center in Sunnyvale, California. Jurisdiction, but not control. The satellite and its rocket are tumbling end over end, according to Sunnyvale, after an apparent loss of control during an attempt to fire its second-stage rocket. Here's NASA animation now showing what happened last night when the combination was spring ejected from the Challenger. The first stage fired an hour later. This is the first stage firing coming up, and all was well with this spacecraft as the astronauts aboard the Challenger, their job accomplished, went to sleep. The second stage of the rocket was to have fired this morning to put the satellite into a 22,000-mile high parking orbit. That's what did not happen. Instead, tracking stations in California and New Mexico lost signals and then got telemetry coming in and out as the spacecraft apparently began to tumble, its antennas rolling in and out of direction, pointing at Earth only part of the time. They are working now at Sunnyvale and here, trying to figure out what happened, while NASA and the Air Force take another look at what all of this could mean to the future of the space program.
A communications satellite launched by Challenger. Joining us from the Johnson Space Center is astronaut Gordon Fullerton, who's been working with NBC News throughout this launch, and NBC News correspondent Roy Neal, who was the first to break the story of this development early this morning. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you. Roy, let me get to you in just one moment. Gordon, we heard Roy's report about what's wrong with that communications satellite. What can you tell us about the possibilities of fixing what's wrong?
It'd be pure conjecture on my part to go into that, although it does look bleak because the last indication I had, the batteries on the satellite are dying due to the fact that they are not able to deploy the solar arrays and get electrical power generated that way. And once that happens, they'll be unable to command to it.
Was it the satellite's boosters that erred, or was the satellite launched incorrectly?
Again, I'm going on sketchy information, but the indication was the problem developed while the second solid rocket motor was being fired.
Commander White signed off last night by saying it was a great day for the space program. Would it be overdoing it now to say that this has been the worst day for the shuttle program?
Well, I'd have to think how to rate the days, but it certainly isn't a good one. As far as the impact on downstream shuttle flights, we were heavily dependent on a timely deployment of this satellite, and we'll just have to regroup and get another one, find a problem, fix it, and get another one up as soon as we can.
Brian, if I could inject a thought there.
Go ahead,
I was talking with Gordon just before we went on the air here. He had some interesting thoughts because there are other inertial upper stages, other second-stage rockets or 2-stage rockets. There are other satellites. What the progression of those might well be in order. In other words, when can NASA launch again and get back in the ballgame?
Well, in fact, the scheduled next launch of the same kind of satellite and an identical system was scheduled for this August on STS-6, the flight after next. Of course, we will not put that up till we are dead certain what the problem was today, and So the chances are that that schedule will be delayed or I would say fairly good.
Now, won't that then impact the Space Lab launch, which was scheduled in September, which depended on these satellites for its communication?
Absolutely. We need at least one of these satellites on orbit, checked out and functioning to do the Space Lab mission.
And Bryant, I point out that Colonel Gordon Fullerton is an Air Force colonel, and the Air Force developed the inertial upper stage. And I'm not pinning a tail to a donkey when I say that. It's important to the Air Force as well for all of their future programs.
Yes, sir, for a substantial number of them, yes.
So all the way through, I guess the only thing we can do, Gordon Fullerton, is to sit back, wait, watch, hope that some miracle might pass. And I guess it would take a miracle right now for that to come back, wouldn't it?
As far as I know now, yes, it doesn't look good for this one.
Looks very bad indeed.
Roy and Gordon, how does this figure to impact on NASA's request to Washington for funds to continue with the program or to go ahead with larger ventures? This can't help, naturally.
Well, that's it's way too early to assess that impact, and that's not my business anyway.
Roy, go ahead.
Gordon flies him, Washington pays for him.
Okay, Roy.
Regained control of the huge communication satellite launched by the Space Shuttle Challenger. Its $100 million uninsured tracking satellite tumbled out of control earlier today. NASA says the satellite has separated from the space tug that was causing the problem, but says it is not in the 22,000-mile high orbit that it's supposed to be in. At this hour, NASA officials are holding a news conference on the situation. Earlier, NASA spokesman Bill Durbing explained why they lost control of the satellite.
Well, we made the firing of the second stage motor. That is designed to put the IUS, which is the inertia upper stage, and the TDRS, that's the tracking and data relay satellite, into a geosynchronous orbit. Now, at that time of the burn, we apparently lost control and also lost telemetry from both of the units.